Yu-Gi-Oh is a game full of big boss monsters. So in this video, we'll be going over some of the best big boss monsters that are either the corner piece of their deck, or a crucial endboard piece for multiple strategies. And the first among the Skull Servants is also the first card on this list at number 10. King of the Skull Servants is a level 1 Dark Zombie from the 2005 set The Lost Millennium with question mark attack and 0 defense. Before King of the Skull Servants, there was only Skull Servant, a level 1 Dark Zombie normal monster with 300 attack and 200 defense. First released as part of the game's first set, 2002's The Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon, Skull Servant's flavor text promises that, though the skeletal ghost isn't strong, it can still mean trouble in large numbers. For a few years, that seemed to just be talk, but King of the Skull Servants changed that. With its attack equal to the number of Skull Servants and King of Skull Servants in the grave times 1000, a fully powered King of Skull Servant had 5,000 attack points in 2005. At the time, that was very impressive. It isn't bad now, and King of the Skull Servants even came with some protection. If it's destroyed by battle, you could instantly revive your King of the Skull Servants by banishing another copy of itself or a Skull Servant from the graveyard. This was useful for protecting your king while he was amassing power, or just to stall for extra draws. Even at full strength, this protection still held onto some application. While not many things in 2005 could beat over 5,000 attack points, King of the Skull Servant's defense stayed at 0, making him vulnerable to position manipulation from common cards like Book of Moon. But King of the Skull Servant's tenure at the top of the white food chain was just getting started. Every few years from 2005 to present, Konami would release another Skull Servant variant. The Lady in White, a level 3 Dark Zombie with 0 attack and 2200 defense, released as part of the 2008 Light of Destruction set, and introduced a new mechanic to the Skull Servant line. While in the graveyard, the Lady in White's name became Skull Servant, lifting the attack ceiling of King of the Skull Servants to 8,000. Future Skull Servant iterations would also feature this name swap, including White Mare, White Prince, White Princess, White Baking, White Lord, and Moisa White. Together, the named Whites boost the attack of the King of the Skull Servants, both in terms of attack, and also by supporting him with their effects. White Princess is a hand trap that can significantly reduce the attack of high-level monsters. White Lord can help you mill Skull Servants while reviving your king. The Lady in White extends protection against destruction by card effect, and immunity to spell and trap cards to other level 3 or lower zombies. While Skull Servant decks were never meta-dominant, they did secure a few rogue placements, notably in 2017 following the release of White Princess. But there's more to Yu-Gi-Oh than reaching tiered status. Skull Servants are a fan-favorite deck for their unique playstyle, long history, and big numbers. Who doesn't love punching through their opponent's field with 26,000 attack? King of the Skull Servants well deserves his spot at the start of this list. And blasting through space to take number 9 is Shooting Quasar Dragon. This level 12 Light Dragon Synchro monster has 4,000 attack and defense, and is the ultimate ace of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's protagonist, Yusei Fudo. It first released into the TCG in December 2011 as a promotional card distributed through Shonen Jump magazine, and wouldn't see a main set reprint for several years. 2014's Legendary Collection 5Ds would reintroduce Shooting Quasar Dragon to the game, and it would be another 11 years before its next printing as part of the quarter-century Stampede. Shooting Quasar Dragon has an exceptionally difficult summoning condition, requiring 3 or more different synchro monsters as materials, with at least one of them being a tuner. It's considered the only limit over XL synchro monster, which is Yusei's technique to rival Antimoni's Delta XL Synchro technique. For a time, Quasar Turbo decks able to combo into a single copy of Shooting Quasar Dragon and pass on turn 1 had a decent chance of winning the entire game. And that's because Shooting Quasar Dragon has a shockingly modern effect for a card from 2011. For starters, it gains attacks equal to the number of non-tuners used for its synchro summon, meaning your ethically sourced Shooting Quasar Dragon will be able to battle at least twice. Once per turn, during either turn, you can negate and destroy in response to the activation of any card or effect. Finally, when Shooting Quasar Dragon leaves the field, you can special summon Shooting Star Dragon from your extra deck. Shooting Star Dragon is also a decent boss monster in its own right. With 3,300 attack, the ability to negate and destroy any destruction effect once per turn, and the ability to banish itself to negate an attack while returning during the end phase. It can also excavate the top 5 cards of your deck on an ignition effect to have its number of attacks per battle phase that turn become equal to the number of tuners revealed. Point is, Shooting Quasar Dragon was already hard to deal with, and the dragon it would float into on removal wasn't a pushover either. Of course, the passing years would see new monsters offer similar perks to Shooting Quasar Dragon, while also being way easier to field, like Baronne de Fleur, Borreload Savage Dragon, Totally Awesome, and even Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. But while the advancing meta would give completion to shooting Quasar Dragon, it would also cement its spot in Yu-Gi-Oh's history as the premier Omni-Negate combo boss. To this day, incorporating shooting Quasar Dragon into your end board is a bit of a style flex, and many more decks can actually do so thanks to Crimson Dragon. Releasing as part of 2023's Duelist Nexus, this level 12 Light Dragon Synchro has generic materials and can cheat shooting Quasar Dragon out of the extra deck. Normally, this wouldn't be possible, since shooting Quasar Dragon can only be summoned via Synchro Summon, but Crimson Dragon can target another level 7 or higher Synchro monster you control, shuffle itself back into the extra deck, to instantly Synchro Summon a Dragon Synchro monster with the same level as that target. So if you just choose a level 12 target, you can go straight into shooting Quasar Dragon. Quasar Dragon's historical relevance as one of the game's early major combo Omni-Negate boss earns it the number 9 spot on this list. And at number 8, we have Herald of Perfection. This is a level 6 Light Fairy Ritual monster with 1800 attack and 2800 defense, first entering the TCG as part of the Shining Darkness set in 2010. Ritual monsters often run into a resource problem in Yu-Gi-Oh! Somehow both difficult and costly to summon, ritual monsters have to be pretty strong to be worth the effort. But Herald of Perfection is exactly that. When your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect, Herald of Perfection can discard one fairy monster to negate and destroy that card. Able to be activated during either player's turn, Herald of Perfection does not come saddled with a once per turn limitation. Instead, you can use its negate for as many times as you have fairies to discard. Herald of Perfection is a powerful Yu-Gi-Oh! Boss monster, which can shut down entire strategies with the right kind of deck building. While its 1800 attack does leave it vulnerable to getting walked over by an opponent's monsters, Herald's 2800 defense helps make up for that. And Herald of Perfection players frequently make use of the hand trap Honest as insurance against removal of their boss monster by battle. When a light monster you control battles, you can discard Honest during the damage step to have your light monster gain attack equal to the attack of the other monster. Herald of Perfection's paired ritual spell, Dawn of the Herald, can also keep your negates online. When Dawn of the Herald is used to ritual summon Herald of Perfection, it can banish itself from the grave to return a material to the hand. If you used a fairy as material, that's a free Herald negate. But Dawn of the Herald isn't your only option. By using advanced ritual art to dump multiple normal fairies from deck to summon Herald of Perfection, you open up Dark Factory mass production and backup soldiers tools to recollect your materials from the grave. Mystic Shine Ball is a great option for this, since you can use it with the Agent of Creation Venus to swarm your field, or you can also consider the level 3 normal fairies Biomage and Ray and Temperance, since Dark Factory mass production returns exactly 2 normal monsters from grave to hand. Herald of Perfection is a combination of the colors green, purple, and orange, which refers back to the smaller heralds that each contain a portion of its effect. Herald of Orange Light can send itself and another fairy from your hand to the grave to negate and destroy an opponent's monster effect. Herald of Green Light can do the same for spells, and Herald of Purple Light for traps. The new challengers, a TCG set from 2014, would introduce an evolution to the Herald of Perfection known as Herald of Ultimateness, a level 12 light fairy monster with 2000 attack and 3000 defense. Herald of Ultimateness had Herald of Perfection's discard a fairy to negate effect, plus the ability to discard to negate and destroy special summons of monsters. But while Herald of Ultimateness is better on paper, Herald of Perfection often proved the more impactful boss, and this is because being a level 6 ritual monster is way better than being a level 12. Pre-Preparation of Rites is a normal spell which adds a level 7 or lower ritual monster from deck to hand, while recycling a ritual spell from grave to hand, and it works for Herald of Perfection, but not Herald of Ultimateness. Its retrain pre-preparation of rites might work with both Herald monsters, but when you're running a ritual strategy, every resource counts, including the ones you miss out on if you're above level 7. Advanced ritual art is also much harder to use with higher levels, and then there's also Cyber Angel Ben 10 to consider. This light fairy ritual monster is 1800 attack and 1500 defense, but what really matters is that it's level 6. Meaning it alone can finance the entire cost for Herald of Perfection, and that's not all. Because it's under level 7, it's also a target for Preparation of Rites, and when Cyber Angel Ben 10 is distributed, including as a material for ritual summon, it has a graveyard effect to search a light fairy from deck. Herald of Perfection is a boss monster that rewards a carefully constructed deck, and with the right pilot, is capable of negating and destroying every card your opponent puts down. Even when Drytron came out later and made Herald of Ultimateness its boss monster, Herald of Perfection was still used in some builds for its ease of access. And roaring into the spot at number 7 is Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon. This level 8 fire attribute dragon with 3000 attack and 2500 defense is from the 2023 set Age of Overlord. Flamberge has 3 effects, with each of them limited to once per turn. First, as an ignition effect, Flamberge can target a face-up monster on either field or in either grave, and place that monster as a face-up continuous spell in its owner's spell and trap card zone. During your opponent's turn, Flamberge can target a monster on either field, currently being treated as a continuous spell, and special summon it to your field. Together, these effects create flexible, non-destruction removal and stealing that can interrupt your opponent's field and grave. On either turn, if Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon is sent from hand or field to grave, you can special summon 2 level 1 fire monsters from your grave. The obvious candidates here are the Snake Eyes various level 1 fire attribute pyro monsters, but this floating effect is notably not archetype locked, meaning you can revive any level 1 fire monsters you want. TG Rocket Salamander, Legendary Fire King Ponix, and Rescue Ace Hydrant are also options, as are Soaring Eagle above the Syrian Land, Laval Volcano Handmaiden, and Charcoal and Pachi if you're cooking something unhinged. Flamberge is a powerful boss monster that is a common endboard piece utilized by Sinful Spoils and Snake Eye strategies, and the mini engines that synergize with them, including Fiendsmith, Azamina, and even Crystal Beasts. We're far from the end of this list and only just beginning to talk about Psychic and Punisher, the level 11 light psychic synchro monster with 3500 baseline attack and defense that's also our number 6 pick. First releasing into the TCG as a secret rare in the 2022 set Dimension Force, Psychic and Punisher's completely generic synchro requirements make up for its awkward level of 11, and comes with great protection too. While your life points are lower than your opponent's, a synchro summoned Psychic and Punisher is immune to all of your opponent's activated effects. As an ignition effect, you can pay 1000 life points to target 1 monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls and banish them both. Finally, at the start of the battle phase, you can have Psychic and Punisher gain attack equal to the difference between yours and your opponent's life points. Basically, Psychic and Punisher is a big, bad effect immune monster whose strength scales with how far behind you are in life points. Unsurprisingly, it has seen playing strategies that love artificially lowering their own life points, including Dinomorphia and the Punk cards. Basically, Psychic and Punisher really lives up to its name. If your opponent is ahead on life points, you're going to punish them for that, with a huge beat stick that's immune to activated effects and carries its own removal. And storming into number 5 is Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. This level 7 wind fusion monster has 2500 attack and 3000 defense, and first released into the TCG as part of the 2015 set Dimension of Chaos. A simple fusion of any Odd Eyes monster plus any Pendulum monster, Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon isn't at all difficult to bring out. You can even summon it with Odd Eyes Fusion using face down extra deck monsters as materials, while your opponent controls 2 or more monsters, and you have none. But most often, you'll be summoning Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon using Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon, a rank 7 Xyz with generic requirements which can float into any Odd Eyes extra deck monster when sent to the grave after being properly summoned. Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon can instantly turn any 2 level 7s into Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, which is important because Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon's ease of summoning is part of what makes it such a powerful endboard piece. But let's look at Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon on the field. For starters, when it's special summoned, you can target and bounce one of your opponent's attack position monsters. This is useful and extra nice that the effect triggers on special summon and not fusion summon, meaning that an Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon filled through revival cards like Monster Reborn and Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon can still access this removal. But Vortex Dragon's on summon effect is not what makes it so good. This card is a floodgate on legs that negates and destroys spells and traps by shuffling a face-up Pendulum monster from your extra deck, and this effect can be resolved as many times as you have face-up extra deck Pendulums to shuffle. With many decks able to fill and swarm their extra deck, the ceiling for how many negates your Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon can carry is very high. Any deck that uses Pendulums and can overlay into level 7 without locking themselves probably has an Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon lurking somewhere within. This boss is just that good, and it's seen competitive play to back up its claim to goodness, with huge numbers of placements as part of strategies including Pendulum Magicians, Endymion, Zephyra, Metal Foes, Odd Eyes, Magispectrus Performer Pals, and more. Look in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Kashtira Shangri-Ira, and it's locking down all your zones. This list number 4 pick is the rank 7 Fire Psychic Xyz monster with 0 attack and 3000 defense from the 2022 set Darkwing Blast. Kashtira Shangri-Ira has all of the qualities of a good boss monster. It's an end-board piece that's also its own win condition, enabled by the effects of its archetype pals. During each standby phase, Shangri-Ira can deploy a Kashtira monster to your field from deck, and each time Shangri-Ira would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, you can detach one of its materials instead. But these effects are just icing on the cake. Shangri-Ira's main threat is its zone locking. Every time outside of the damage step an opponent's card is banished face down, Shangri-Ira can target an opponent's unused main monster or spell and trap card zone and lock it down. The longer Kashtira Shangri-Ira remains on the field, the less zones your opponent will have to use. If you fail to address an opposing Shangri-Ira quickly, you'll find yourself unable to make any moves at all with your zones blocked. The Kashtira archetype is really good at banishing cards face down too. Kashtira Unicorn, Fenrir, Ogre, Riseheart, Birth, Big Bang, Preparations, and Kashtira Riseheart can all trigger Shangri-Ira's zone lock by banishing opponent's cards, and a lot of the Kashtiras are able to search each other out. Even if you have nothing but Shangri-Ira on board, this is still a threat, because during the next standby phase, you can just summon Kashtira Fenrir from your deck and proceed to dismantle your opponent's cards by banishing them while locking their zones. And delivering this list number 3 spot is Judgment Dragon, a level 8 light dragon monster with 3000 attack and 2000 defense from 2008's Light of Destruction set. Judgment Dragon cannot be normal summoned or set, and instead must be special summoned from your hand when the time is right, indicated by the presence of 4 or more Lightsworn monsters with different names in your graveyard. On the field, Judgment Dragon has an ignition effect where you can destroy every other card on the field for the low cost of 1000 life points. This is pretty good on its own, and is even a great out for cards with a few layers of protection, like Shangri-Ira. If any cards remain on the field after Judgment Dragon's board clear, you can just pay another 1000 life points to blast the board again and again until everything is dust, because the effect is not once per turn. While this won't clear away opposing cards that are totally immune to destruction or effects like Apocryphal Towers, the main deck Magic Specters, or any of the Link monsters summoned using IP Masquerena, it will eventually destroy Psychic Punisher from earlier in this video, because Psychic Punisher's activated effect immunity is only live while the player has lower life point count than your opponent. So eventually Judgment Dragon's activation cost will flip the score and dismantle its enemy. Competitively, Judgment Dragon has a lot of placements, and although they always come alongside a Lightsworn package, there are a ton of decks that synergize well with Lightsworns, and their big board-clearing boss dragon. Most Lightsworn cards have effects that mill cards off the top of your deck, offering huge utility to any strategy that favors a robust grave. Chaos decks love the Lightsworn and Twilight Sworns alike for their attributes and mills, and zombie strategies get a lot of mileage from a graveyard full of bodies. Dragon Rulers were often paired with Lightsworns and Judgment Dragon alongside powerful consistency cards like Eclipse Wyvern. Judgment Dragon's competitive popularity also led to a few retrains and artwork features. Lightsworn Judgment and Twilight Twin Dragons both saw Judgment Dragon, and Michael the Arc Lightsworn is depicted mounted on the dragon's back. It has a Dark Attribute retrain and Punishment Dragon, and also a 20th Anniversary Synchro retrain, Judgment the Dragon of Heaven. And at number 2, we have one of Yu-Gi-Oh's most famous cards, Dark Arm Dragon. This level 7 Dark Dragon has 2800 attack and 2000 defense, and first released in the 2008 set Phantom of Darkness. Dark Arm Dragon can't be normal summoned or set, and can only be special summoned from your hand while you have exactly 3 Dark Attribute monsters in your graveyard. On field, Dark Arm Dragon's ignition effect allows you to target and pop a card on the field by banishing a dark monster from your graveyard, and can be repeated for as many times as you can afford the activation. With 3 monsters required to field Dark Arm Dragon, you're guaranteed the juice for that many pops, but you can keep going for as long as you can keep filling your grave with dark monsters. This was unparalleled board removal back in 2008, comparable to Axis Code Talker today. Entire decks were built around Dark Arm Dragon, and it remains an intensely powerful threat in Edison format, where it continues to see play. Often argued as one of the most consistent decks in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, Teledat strategies took half their name from Dark Arm Dragon. The teleport refers to using emergency teleport to field Krebons for the purpose of synchroing into Stardust Dragon. Your non-tuner monster was often Destiny Hero Malicious, a dark level 6 extender which could be summoned from deck by banishing another copy from your graveyard. With normal summons like Armageddon Knight and Dark Grepher able to move Malicious to the grave, you could assemble the necessary monsters to drop Dark Armed Dragon on field while building other pieces of your board. The deck's quorum of Dark Monsters and Destiny Heroes specifically let Teledad strategies use both Allure Darkness and Destiny Draw to boost consistency immensely. Dark Armed Dragon saw a tremendous amount of competitive play following its release, and would continue to see experimentation over the next decade, with placements ebbing and flowing alongside the evolving format and Forbidden Lists. Outside of dedicated Teledad decks, Dark Armed Dragon has been splashed into many strategies that facilitate dark attributes in Grave, including Zombie, Blackwing, Infernity, Inzektor, Evil Swarm, Shaddoll, Burning Abyss, and more. After release, Dark Armed Dragon was quickly semi-limited on the September 2008 ban list. A few months later, in March of 2009, Dark Armed Dragon was set to 1 copy, where it would remain until October 2019. By January 2020, restrictions on Dark Armed Dragon were totally released, allowing the card back into the game at a full 3 copies. And tying up this list at number 1 is Shaddoll Construct, the fusion boss monster of the immensely popular Shaddoll archetype. A level 8 light fairy monster, Shaddoll Construct has 2800 attack and 2500 defense, and fusion materials that include 1 Shaddoll monster and any 1 light attribute monster. It became part of the TCG as part of the 2014 set Duelist Alliance, alongside other heavy hitters like Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, Artifact Lancia, and Despot 001. In some ways, Shaddoll Construct is kind of the opposite of Dark Armed Dragon. They're both really strong, but while Dark Armed Dragon's greatest strength is its simplicity and easy summoning condition, Shaddoll Construct's clout comes from her staying power and integration into her home Shaddoll deck. On special summon, Construct can send any Shaddoll card from your deck to the grave. Since the Shaddolls are a deck full of graveyard effects, this is really good. Your prime target is often going to be Squamata, a monster which can dump another Shaddoll card after being sent to the grave. This can let you put into the grave an additional Shaddoll like Shaddoll Beast, who draws a card, or Shaddoll Hedgehog, who searches another Shaddoll monster. Though Shaddoll Construct must first be fusion summoned, she gets access to her dump effect on special summon, meaning you can use it again after bringing her back from the grave or elsewhere. 2000 attack is a respectable stat line, but if Construct battles a special summon monster, she won't need those points because she automatically destroys that monster at the start of the damage step. Finally, if Construct herself is sent to the grave in any way, you can add a Shaddoll spell or trap from your graveyard back to your hand. As far as bosses go, Shaddoll Construct did everything. She was a threat on field that also prepared you for future plays, and lets you recoup resources after being sent to the grave. After a truly staggering competitive performance in 2014 and 2015, Shaddoll Construct was banned on November 2015 ban list, until September 2018 where she returned to the game at 1 copy. By October 2019, she was let back at 3, and although the Shaddoll heyday has passed, she remains a very powerful card. Of course, to Konami, time is a flat circle, and the law of nostalgia suggests that once popular cards will see play again. It's not so much a matter of if, but when. Shaddoll Construct takes spot number 1 on this list for the impact of her entry, her shadow over players' memory, and because she's a perfect example of what Yu-Gi-Oh! Boss monsters can be, and probably will be again someday. Alright, and that's the list. But if you think there's any boss monsters we may have missed, you might want to check out the part 1 video. Or if you have any ideas for future videos just like this one, please let us know down in the comments below.